Section 1. Introduction and setting the stage. When people look at us from the outside, they see a picture-perfect family. A lovely home, dinners together, smiles for the neighbors, and the kind of life many would envy. But behind those closed doors, behind those carefully staged smiles, there was a silence that grew louder with every passing day. I had built a blended family after marrying my husband, and along with him came his son, my stepson. At first, I thought it would be simple. We would live together, share meals, and build a new chapter as one family. But reality is always different from expectations. My husband worked long hours, often too tired to talk at the end of the day. He was there physically, but emotionally he was miles away. And in that growing distance, a loneliness began to take root inside me, an emptiness I didn't want to admit. My stepson, though, was different. He was young, still figuring out life, still trying to understand where he fit into this new arrangement. I could see the conflict in his eyes when he looked at me. Part of him wanted to accept me as family, and another part struggled with the change. He was quiet most of the time, observant, watching more than speaking. I often wondered what he thought about me, about us, about this new life forced upon him. I kept my secrets hidden. I told myself they were mine to bear, that they wouldn't affect anyone else if I just managed them carefully. But secrets have a way of bleeding through, no matter how hard you try to contain them. I thought I was careful, but maybe I wasn't careful enough. It started small, late-night phone calls, messages I tried to hide, moments when I disappeared for hours with excuses that even sounded weak to me. My husband was too distracted to notice, but my stepson, he noticed everything. He saw the glances, the hurried explanations, the tension in the air. And even though he didn't say a word, I could feel his suspicion growing. There was one night I'll never forget. He walked into the room unexpectedly and found me startled, clutching my phone like it was evidence. Our eyes met, and in that split second, I knew he sensed something was wrong. He didn't ask questions, but the silence that followed was heavier than any accusation. From that moment, things changed. He grew more distant, and I could feel his unease whenever he was around me. He wasn't ready to face the truth, and I wasn't ready to explain it. Fear had entered our home. Not the kind of fear you see in movies, but the quiet kind that creeps into your heart when you know something fragile is about to break. And though I told myself I could still hold everything together, deep down I knew that sooner or later, the truth would demand to be seen. Section 2. First confrontation and fear. Infidelity doesn't begin with one big choice. It begins with small cracks. A text you shouldn't reply to. A thought you shouldn't entertain. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you step across lines you promised never to cross. That was my mistake. It wasn't that I stopped loving my husband, but somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling seen by him. And in that darkness, I looked for light in the wrong place. My stepson noticed more than I wanted him to. He never said it directly, but I could see it in his face when he looked at me. Confusion, suspicion, maybe even disappointment. It was as if he knew but couldn't fully understand what it meant. He was young, too young to carry the weight of such knowledge. One afternoon, everything came to a boiling point. He came home earlier than expected, and for the first time, he caught a glimpse of my hidden life. He didn't see everything, but he saw enough to know that I was not who he thought I was, not who I pretended to be in front of his father. The look in his eyes haunts me even now. Fear. Not fear of me, but fear of what he had stumbled into. Fear of what this meant for his family. He stood there frozen, as if the ground beneath him had suddenly shifted. And in that moment, I realized how unprepared he was to face this truth. I tried to speak, to calm him, to say it wasn't what it looked like. But my words stumbled, weak and unconvincing. He didn't argue, he didn't shout. He simply turned away, leaving the room in silence, so heavy it felt like the walls themselves were closing in. From that day on, a wall grew between us. He avoided me, avoided conversations, avoided eye contact. I knew he was scared, not just of me, but of what the truth meant. If he spoke out, he risked breaking his father's heart. If he stayed silent, He carried a burden far too heavy for someone his age. And me? I lived in constant fear. Fear that he would tell his father. Fear that he would despise me. Fear that my secret would not remain a secret much longer. Every dinner, every family gathering felt like a ticking clock, each second pushing us closer to an explosion. I had thought I could keep my double life hidden, that no one would get hurt if I played my role carefully. But looking at him, so withdrawn, so unsettled, I realized the damage had already begun. My choices had pulled him into a world he was not ready for, and his silence was proof of the fear I had planted in his heart. The truth was there between us, unspoken but undeniable. And deep down, I knew silence couldn't last. Section 3. Breaking point and consequences. Silence can be louder than words. For days, my stepson barely looked at me. When he did, his eyes carried questions he was too afraid to ask. His avoidance was his way of speaking, and each time he left the room when I entered, it cut deeper than any confrontation. But secrets don't stay buried forever. The more he withdrew, the more obvious the tension became. My husband began noticing it. He asked questions, innocent ones at first. Is everything okay between you two? Or, why does he seem so distant lately? I brushed them off with excuses, school stress, teenage mood swings, the usual explanations. But I knew the truth was pressing against the walls of our home, searching for a way out. One night, when the house was quiet, my stepson finally approached me. His voice trembled, but his words were sharp. I know what you're doing. I know you're lying to him. There it was, the confrontation I had been dreading. My chest tightened, my voice faltered. I wanted to deny it, to dismiss his claims, but the look on his face told me he had seen enough to be certain. I confessed, not with pride, not with justification, but with the weight of someone who could no longer carry the burden of silence. I told him about the loneliness, the mistakes, the choices I wished I could take back. He listened, but his face twisted between anger and disbelief. To him, it didn't matter why I had done it. What mattered was that I had betrayed someone he loved. You broke him, he whispered, though his father hadn't even learned the truth yet. You broke this family. Those words stung more than anything else. They weren't shouted. They were said quietly, almost painfully. And that's what made them so powerful. He wasn't just angry, he was wounded. The following days were unbearable. He kept his distance, but the tension was too thick to ignore. My husband started sensing that something was terribly wrong. A misplaced glance, an awkward silence at dinner, a sudden retreat to his room. The puzzle pieces were falling into place, and soon, he would start asking the right questions. I tried to hold the family together, but it was like trying to catch water with my hands. No matter how tightly I gripped, it slipped through my fingers. The truth was seeping into everything, and I knew it was only a matter of time before the final collapse. The breaking point was coming, and deep inside, I already knew, when it arrived, there would be no turning back. Section 4. Resolution and Aftermath. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how desperately you try to bury it. One evening, my husband confronted me. He had noticed too much, asked too many questions, and finally, the silence cracked open. I admitted it all. The betrayal, the affair, the choices I could no longer hide. His reaction was exactly what I had feared. Shock. Anger. Silence. He didn't shout, he didn't break things. He just looked at me like I was someone he no longer recognized. And in many ways, I wasn't. The person he thought I was had been gone for a long time, replaced by someone he could no longer trust. But it wasn't just my husband who suffered. My stepson, too, carried the scars of what he had seen and heard. He had been forced into an adult world too soon, burdened with a secret that should never have been his to carry. His fear had turned into bitterness, and even though he never spoke of it again, I could see the distance growing between us like an uncrossable river. The house felt emptier after that night. My husband and I tried to talk, tried to repair what was broken, but infidelity leaves marks that can't be erased. Every attempt at rebuilding felt fragile, as though one wrong word could send everything crashing down again. Trust, once shattered, is not easily rebuilt. In the quiet moments, I reflected on what I had done. I had told myself it was just a mistake, a small secret that would never hurt anyone if it stayed hidden. But the truth is, secrets don't just belong to the person who keeps them. They spill into every life around them. My choice had wounded not just my husband, but my stepson too. He was the one who carried the fear, the silence, and the heavy knowledge that his family was not what it seemed. Over time, I realized the real tragedy wasn't just the infidelity, it was the destruction of trust. Trust between husband and wife. Trust between parent and child. Trust within a family that had once held the promise of a new beginning. My stepson eventually moved on with his own life, but our relationship never fully healed. The fear and betrayal he felt as a young man shaped him, leaving behind lessons I wish he never had to learn. As for me, I carry the weight of those choices every day. Infidelity doesn't just end a marriage, it tears at the foundation of family itself. And once that foundation cracks, no amount of apologies can make it whole again. If there's one lesson I've learned, it's this: the truth will always surface, and when it does, it spares no one. Betrayal doesn't just break hearts, it breaks families. And the echoes of that pain never truly fade.